Good evening. Welcome to Interesting Talk with Footprints Counselling Service. I hope that you're in a good place and that you've had a decent week, and welcome back to my talks. Today's talk is on a subject that's probably quite close to my heart. Those that know me personally know that this is something I've talked to them about a lot. So I don't really shouldn't need much practice to get this talk right, to get my points across. Do like, share, leave comments on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr I'm on now, and of course Instagram. I'm on there as well, Facebook obviously. Your comments, I learn from them, people learn from them, and of course it causes this channel to get much more exposure than what it would do, because the algorithms pick up on people leaving comments. And I'd like you to leave comments on it because, as I say, my key thing is I learn and I know other people learn. But a spin-off from that is it gets the algorithm going. And, I think what I have to say is, in the midst of so many people with so much different kinds of bits of information, is quite useful. So today's talk is on that thing, information, misinformation. There is just so much of it out there. There's so much around. God knows where it starts, where it ends, and where it begins. It is just a spectacular ball of fire, as bright as the sun at sometimes, so it almost blinds you. I suppose misinformation started from me. My questioning of information actually started when I was in primary school, and it was actually my first year at primary school. And I think it was one of the first times I ever went to Nigeria. And at the time, I really loved history, and I was studying history. And there was something about Bronze Age, and it started in Sicily or some part of Europe. And let's say they was talking about, I don't know, 1500s, 1400s that it started and stuff like that. And I was thinking, no big thing about it. Anyway, so I went to a museum in Tafalabawa Square in Lagos, Nigeria. It's a kind of eclectic museum because it's got all sorts of things in there, but I suppose that's what museums are like. And I went in this museum. And then I come to a part where they're talking about artifacts. So I looked at these artifacts, and they were bronze artifacts. Now some of them was in the Metropolitan Museum, some was in the Louvre, some was in the British Museum, but some of them were there. But all of the artifacts had their dates, and they all predated what I'd been told was happening in Europe by a good 500 years. And I was thinking, but why am I being taught one thing? And the reality is something else, as I'm seeing the reality. This is not somebody telling me, this is the truth. Yeah, I realised if I'd gone back and I'd done my history exam and I was talking about the Bronze Age and I started saying what I know rather than what I'd been taught, I would have failed. That's when my questions began. This is when I started checking out on what is reality, what is fake, what is true, and how do you find it out? And it is a very, very difficult task. So roll on to like last week. I go to the sauna and I go to the steam to relax myself. That's one of my places where I can really chill out, have deep thinking, deep breathing. I actually can do a bit of meditating, which I find difficult to do. But anyway, so I went into the steam room and there was this guy talking there as if he was the oracle, as if he had total knowledge from the time of conception of mankind, Homo sapiens, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, up until, I don't know, about 200 years into the future. He was just talking and sprouting off things. And what amazed me was that everybody, or the majority of people, was sort of, yeah, bruv, yeah, you seem to know, yeah. Now, my key thing is what I'm going to say in this talk is, we know very little about anything. We know very little about anything. If you think you're a professor or you're a super califragilistic person on knowledge on anything that you talk about, you know a very small percentage because you've not lived long enough. So here we go. Misinformation. We've been on the planet between 200 to 300,000 years, known as humans or Homo sapiens. The oldest religion dates back 4,000 years, and it's Hinduism, closely followed by Judaism. The olden written language that we know of dates back 5,000 years, and it is known as Sumerian, and it was found in Iraq. Iraq is a very quite important place for people want to do research on history. And the most of history, what we do know of, is about 8,000 years that we could play with. These are just some basic facts that you yourself can do research on and find out what the basis of them is for your own self. And that's also a part of this talk. I want people to be able to do their own compare and contrasting. And I suppose the best way I can explain to do something like that would be, you are an employer and you're sitting down and you're conducting an interview for candidates for a position that needs filling. So you're going to have an open mind. So the first candidate comes in and they do their spiel and they tell you their resume. You listen to them. But at the same time, you know that you're going to hear 2 or 3 other people. So you're not going to just say, I'm going to give this person the job, right? Why would you do that when you listen to 3 other people? So when the second person comes in, you're going to listen to them, third and fourth and so on. And then you're going to probably sit down maybe with people that were with you and make a decision who you think is the best candidate to fill the role for your business to succeed. Now, in normal life, somebody comes and tells you a story and says, David did this or Caroline did that. You tend to believe the first person that told you the story and kind of shut off the next person's coming to tell you. It's like, yeah, did you? Yeah. No, you got to give both parties a listen to. I mean, it's not easy, but you can adapt it, because now I'm telling you, why would you do that? How does that benefit you? If you can give a listen to both people's stories, both people, or as many stories as you can listen to, and analyze them and put them in the categories that you're going to employ this story to help you to get through better with your life, obviously you're going to become a better decision maker. You're going to be a better resourceful person in making decisions, because you're going to be able to analyze what people are saying to you and compare and contrast and see what's best and what's not good, what works, what doesn't work. Not because the first person told you something does that make it true. And including myself, this talk, you need to question it and ask questions. Does he seem to know what he's talking about? Does it make sense? Analyze it a little bit. So I'm not going to stay too long, so I want to get my points through possibly as quick as possible, even though I may have rambled a bit here. As I say, it's one of my favourite subjects, misinformation, and how we gullibly suck it up and run away with it. I've also got a talk on, it's called splitting. You just see what you want to see. You don't listen to what anybody else is saying. You just want to see what you want to see, and all the other facts that come apart from that, you just dismiss them. No, rubbish. Well, I'm going to say something what I also see happening these days. I've been in the gym. I go to the gym, and there they've got 4 or 5 screens, and usually 3 or 4 of them on the news. And you get ITV, BBC, CNN, and maybe Sky News. And I've been there and I've watched incidents taking place. I don't know, a terrorist attack. And people say the guy got shot, he killed 6 people. Then they say nobody got hurt and the guy's still alive and he's still on the run. The news today has got probably the best able to record news you could possibly want for. Digital, you've got people with mobile phones, cameras, high definition, and and more. And yet they still get their stories wrong. So I said to myself, if they're getting their stories wrong in 2022, 2021, what was the stories like 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 8,000 years ago? It's just like a Chinese whisper. And for those that don't know what a Chinese whisper is, let's say you've got 8 to 10 people in a circle. We practiced this when I was at college studying. And, I say to the first person, the red bus is going to be stopping at every stop along the route. And by the time it gets to the 8th or the 10th person, they're saying something like, it's going to snow at Christmas. And it's all this information. And that is how our history has been passed down to us. Word of mouth, written on a book, by another man who wrote a book on another person's book that wrote a book on that book. And all it takes is a couple of mistakes and the book has gone completely out of context and the meaning was lost from the original meaning in the first place. Hopefully you're hearing me. And that is how our history is. It's written on papyrus paper. It's given around by whispers. It's people with power intersect into the holy books and try to influence people's thinking. People couldn't be able to read the Bible about 400 or 500 years ago, not without the priests being able to interpret it for you so that you could understand his meaning, and the landowner or the king or the queen or the power that might be trying to influence you to do what they wanted you to do. That's not really that much different now. Now there's more, it's media, not social media, media, newspapers do influence you and I to make decisions that suit the status quo of what's going on in the world. Who's ever leading it? Where the money is, really. So this is the talk. Try to think outside of the box a little bit. Do question what you hear. Do question what you see. Do your research. If you think the Conservatives are correct, do your research on them. Where do they come from? What are they about? If you think Labour are correct, do your research. What do they stand for? What are they standing for now? What was their principles? Liberals, and then you make a decision. Don't just sit down there and say, I don't like Conservatives, or I don't like Labour, or I don't like Liberal. Yeah, that's okay. You can have those opinions. There's nothing wrong with it. But what about doing a bit of research behind the background first, so that you can come to what I would say an informed decision. I wouldn't say an educated decision, but an informed decision, because you've informed yourself on what is going on. And of course, people that are listening to my talks, I want them to be informed. That's what I'm trying to do. Get you to think and, make the most of what time we've got on the planet. Anyway, this talk is coming to an end. Hopefully you found it useful and, as I said, informative in another part of the, talk. Do share, leave comments, share with friends, family, colleagues, people that you think that are a bit stuck on stuff, like they just believe anything that they're told. Well, they might not change from watching this video, but we're planting seeds, and seeds take time to grow. I plant a seed and the person grows. Some clients work with me and we talk, and I can see that their eyes light up and they make changes within 2 to 3 weeks. Others take 2 to 3 months. Others take 2 to 3 years. I've not been working 10 to 20 years with clients, but I presume that also applies. So, until 2 weeks' time, take care of yourself, try to stay positive, and analyze what you're listening to. Take care. Bye for now.